Here is the hands from, here are sorry, the hands from yesterday that I repainted, the Lumon, and I flipped them over. They were showing the backside first because I had to apply it from the backside, but I'm going to paint the tips of these different colors, and yeah, so I'm going to need to see it from the top side because this is how they're going to be viewed. And as you can see, the hands are black, but they have like a basically kind of a gloss finish to them, which is fine, even though it's against a matte. It'll help to actually differentiate it off of the matte dial just enough, you know. If it was all matte, it would probably blend in too much, which might be okay for some people, but I'm looking for not absolute stealth here. So we're going to paint the second hand with the yellow, red tip, and then the minute hand with the yellow, and then the hour hand with the blue. And I'm color coordinating this. Did some thinking. I mean, one, I wanted to add color, just enough onto the dial. I think it'll make it look a little bit more interesting. Secondly, the colors will help differentiate the hands a little bit more. I mean, although this is definitely different, but these two can look the same, although this is, you know, significantly shorter. You know, you can see the length, but to further make it, you know, the visibility easier to read, it's just to color coordinate the three different handsets. So I chose, and I color coordinated them just based off of the color. I mean, the urgency, I guess, of, or the importance of each hand. And I would say blue is probably the least important because you don't measure things, at least in spec ops terms or any kind of operational terms, on the hour exactly. It's more, if anything, on the hour by the minute. So the minute is next, and that's why it gets yellow. And even more precise than that, if it's critical, then you use red for the second hands. And that's the logic behind it. Otherwise, I was thinking, well, should it actually be red for the minute and then yellow for the, is the second actually that important? Maybe it should be the other way around, but I think that makes sense. Red, yellow, blue. And just to show you how it looks like, I'm going to just hit this up a little bit real quick with the UV light, and I don't know if this is going to come across, but you can kind of make out that it's blue there. It should be fine. And I'm not going to do anything with this. It probably looks rougher in these images, possibly in this video, than in actuality. But what you'll get is, you can see how clean actually the glow will be, actually, because you don't see anything coming outside of the S too much. It's pretty much within the engraving, which is what you want, and make it look like, that looks like a believable Seiko S. You know, people know Seiko, they'll recognize that S. That's the most important thing. You know, just kind of showing that off, representing. I think that'd be pretty cool on the side of the case. Even more so than, perhaps even more so than the Night King mod that I did, where this was, I left this, you know, the crown was silver, you know, stainless steel, wasn't coated. So I think this was pretty cool. I'll see, maybe I might do something else to possibly smooth out the surface a bit, but for now, really in my own eyesight, in real life, it just looks fine. And hopefully it'll come across that in the video. It'll probably look more like somewhere back. Oops, I want to focus on my hand, like that. I think it'll be fine. So I just want to show that off. I'm not going to do. I'm not going to be adding anything to that in terms of color paint. And this is the dial that I worked on in part 2. Oh no, was it 1? Probably part 2. That was the first thing I kind of hit, other than sending the case off to get Cerakoted. And I wanted to originally remove the 5 and add something else, but that's just going to be too complicated. And so now I left the 5. It's just not bad. I mean, there's a lot of very cool Seiko 5 products out there. I mean, products, yeah, models and watches that are really cool. And sometimes within the same family, such as the 6139, the vintage Seiko speed timers. You know, you have the ones that people call the Pogue incorrectly. There's only one true Pogue, but you know, the speed timer, the classic ones with the yellow and dark blue dial, or the rare silver one, which I used to have. And then there's a Seiko 5 branded one, which is, I think, specifically for the JDM market, and it's got some extra details and different ways of doing things on that one, but I digress. Anyways, so leaving the 5, Seiko 5 is not a bad thing really. I chose this dial for obviously the field aesthetics. It has a 24-hour scale on the inside and 12-hour, a larger one on the main, outside, and you know, looks like a field watch. And I like the fact that the numbers light up, glow rather. So I think that would be pretty cool with the handset there. And although sometimes I wish the outer markers, those ones right outside of the numbers, would have lit up too. And I could have gotten an aftermarket one from probably Dagaz or somewhere else, Joboki's possibly too, that has it all loomed up. But I wanted to keep the Seiko 5 logo. I didn't want it to be plain generic, you know, the real sterile dial. So anyways, getting back to this, I filled this in with panel line paint. It's supposed to go into the gaps, and you know, like you do on models, to do the panel lines on airplanes and maybe ships and other things, to really bring out some details in the crevices, which this did. But I think it's not meant to really cover anything much more than a crack or, you know, really fine gap. It's anything more than that, it kind of thins out. It tends to collect towards the edges, you know, and that's what it's meant to do, is really outline, you know, fine detail, not really expand the gap. So because of that, I mean, at first I was thinking, well, it's okay darkening it, but I think I'd rather have it a little bit more opaque, you know, solid black across in that area. Because I don't know, you can see, yeah, right there, you can see it's kind of not all the way there. So I'm going to use flat black and just fill it in, and then remove the excess, and then reveal the 5 again, make sure the raised edges show up, and then everything recessed is more solid black across. And I think that'll blend in pretty good. I was thinking at one point to try to loom that, which is possible, but it's the engraving in that around there is so shallow, you're really not going to get much loom paint into there, and it's going to be really messy to try to clean that up, because the loom paint isn't really that fine to work with. So what I'm going to do first actually is I'm going to be working from light to dark with the brushes, and I mean, I'm going to be cleaning it off, but it's generally better to work light to dark. So I'm going to go with doing the yellow first on the mid hand, and then it'll be red, and I have a light blue, but I think the dark blue that I used on my Pepsi, Inverse Pepsi Tuna Mod will be fine. I know it looks kind of light here, but once it's mixed, it's actually pretty reasonably dark blue. So this is just regular Tester's enamel paint. I think it's essentially an oil-based paint, and I like using these on small jobs where I want the color to last. It tends to be better than acrylic paint, although I haven't really had any negative experience with acrylic paint. Am I still recording? Okay, good. I don't know how long I can record for, so if I get cut off, I'll bring it back up, but it should be fine. There we go. And let me just show you something. I use magnifying glass such as this set here. It comes with different lenses you can clip onto the front. It's got a light up here too that you can turn on and angle it, and it's good for close fine work. It doesn't cost too much. I think less than $20, maybe $15 on Amazon. And so I might need that. Hope I don't spill this. Trying to work around the camera. Let's close this so I don't screw up the dial. And set that to the side and push this off to the side a little bit more. So I am going to attack the minute hand first anyways. So this is this the right brush? I feel like it's kind of, the tip isn't that good. You know what? This might not be the right one. Scratch that. It's too blunt. I'll have to clean this off later a little more thoroughly. It's actually this one. It's gonna look better. And then make sure the paint is so mixed. Hear a funny noise in the background. I'm shaking this because it's the bench that I'm working on. It's not the most solid. Okay. So let me see if I hit is the light on? It is, huh? Am I in the frame? Let's see if I can zoom in. I'll do my best to keep this in focus, but no promises because I'm actually working over the camera. I don't need a whole lot of paint. I'm just actually dip it in, and I'm just gonna do the tip of this thing and maybe leave a little bit of black. Let's go slowly and see what happens. Whoa. This is the minute hand, right? Okay. Okay, I had to do this off camera because I just could not get close enough with the camera in front of me to be able to, you know, see exactly what's going on. But that's basically it. Let's see, let me pull it back. Maybe I gotta see it better from afar. There we go, something like that. So that's the minute hand. Just let that dry. And we're going to do the second hand in this because it's red. Here's something in the background. It's the Predator playing. It's ambient sounds. It's not too distracting. So when I do the red hand, second hand on the tip, I'm going to try to match the length of how much I painted it on there. I don't want to paint the entire length from the loom pip right there, the square one, rectangle one, from there all the way out. So I think that'll be too much. We'll see. If it looks weird with it being kind of short, then I might just stick with what I have, like on the on this and what's probably the blue on the hour hand is going to look like. And pause this for a sec. Okay. Here we go on the red. So, let me see if I can possibly try to capture this on camera. But I probably will have to pause and get a close-up of this and make sure I paint it correctly. Yeah, you can't even see what I'm doing. So let me because the red is a little dark, but let's see here. Okay, so what I ended up having to do was, let's see if I can get this in focus, is I did not go with the dark red, I went with the brighter red. So the dark one was just not showing up enough, so you can see that. Got crappy lighting. But you get an idea right there. You can see it right about there, so it should be fine. I decided to paint maybe roughly about half of that length at the end. I think that'd be good. So then I needed blue here. And I'm thinking, might as well try to go maybe light blue. Something that'll stick out a little bit more. So we'll see how this turns out. Okay, this is where we're at. Red tip second, yellow tip, minute hand, blue tip, hour hand. I think it looks, I went with a lighter blue. See if I can show it off here. It's crappy lighting, sorry about that. Anyways, against something black, you know, I think that's why I went with something just a little bit brighter than my mock-up that I showed, just so that it would stand out against a black better. Same with the red. I suppose it's about right, but originally it was going to use a dark red, and that was just too dark, and I wanted it to make sure it could have enough pop against something dark in the background. So that should be that. I think that'll work out pretty good. You'll see it once you put it all together. Well, yeah, hope to invest in better lighting soon, but it's all I have to work with right now. Maybe if I can take this, another video of this in the daytime, maybe that'll definitely show it off better. Anyways, time to move on. This is the hands, and I'll just set those aside to dry. And lastly, I'm going to go into this and add black and try to make that area a little bit more opaque. So give me a second. Okay, I'm going to do my best to show you how I do this. It gets lost a little bit. My apologies. I'm just a one-man act right now. You see? Okay. Okay. that should do it. Then I'm going to just try taking some thinner later with a fine Q-tip, like I did last time. Let me make sure I gave this a chance to dry. So what we're going to do is try to remove that excess black again. And just dab a little bit of thinner out. It's fine to swab. Let's see if I can do it like this. Hopefully you'll be able to see okay here. Some stuff out of the way. Light. Careful not to disrupt too much of the paint, because the again, the engraving, the etch depth of the Seiko 5 isn't all that deep. So if you're not careful, push this tip too hard, it'll probably lift off more than you need, like it kind of happened last time. So I had to go really light and at a really sharp, you know, angle, almost parallel to the surface, so it doesn't really get up in there. And generally shouldn't, because this, as you notice, this Q-tip is a bit, it's more specially shaped. Doesn't have all the extra fuzz that normal Q-tips have. It's not supposed to be soft and cozy on your skin and all that. This one is supposed to be used as like a tool, basically. See. Hopefully I can just lift off only what I need. Just getting there. I believe. A little bit more thinner. Whoa! I really need to secure a better camera. Crap, I might have ruined the tip here. Oh, let's go at it at a steep angle, like I said. Paint has definitely had a chance to dry, so that's why it's taken a little bit of time to remove the excess. Black paint from the raised surface. See if I can attack it from a different angle. I'm going to use the other end. It's not used yet. whenever possible, try to go with a fresh tip. Maybe I move. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Oh man, somehow it lifted off part of the black that should have went inside. Like in the middle of that 5. I don't know, you can probably see that. I don't know, how the heck did it get in there? Okay, well, it's clear I'm going to have to go back in and do something about that. But the rest of it is kind of working. Is there more to that 5, or is that pretty much it? Extends a little bit more. Let's just make sure. Jeez, it's taking off. God damn it. Son of a bitch. Some of that black is coming off now. Telling you, it's not easy. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna have to repaint that and try it again. At least part of that. See how some of it got pulled out. Damn it. Alright, I'll be back. So I was gonna get in there and do a more detailed close-up of me working this out. I just needed to get really close, and the camera would not be able to get in there without being in my way. So anyways, a little bit of work. I put more paint back in carefully, and then just also equally carefully just take some thinner on the end of this fine pointed Q-tip and just work out the raised area so that the 5 would show with the shield around it. And that should be it. So, there's nothing, I don't think there's anything else I'm going to do with this. So that's set, as well as the sign crown, which will be I totally miss it. I think my flashlight is dying. You can kind of see that. And lastly, the handsets. Against a black background so you can see. Yeah. See how that blue would stand out now against a black background. So that point there, and then this red tip. Go around. That's the second hand, and this yellow tip here. That should be it. Let me see if I can get this thing to light up everything enough. You might get an idea of what the combination of all these elements might look like. So right down there, get an idea of like the green and the blue hands, how that might look. think that'll work out pretty good. Anyways, I think that's basically it for customizing the parts, as much as I've done. So now all it comes down to is really, what it really boils down to is simply assembly. This should be the fun part. You know, all the parts are ready to kind of put together, and so I should be able to start putting everything together, and you'll see it come to shape real soon. So anyways, this is getting long, running out of space. I guess look forward to the next video, which should it be? I guess it'll be the movement first, working on the inside out for the most part. Where is it? The NH36A movement that I covered in the first, or maybe it was the second video. I can't even remember. Maybe even first, since I removed the dial and I worked on this first. The stretch Stargate dial that used to be on here, and I did the date swap. It used to be white, and now it's black to match the inside, because we put this over it. We don't want anything white really to heavily show through. This would be better to be black underneath. So we're going to put this dial on there, and then we're going to start putting the hands that we just did onto all that, and then the dial and movement should all be set. And then it'll go to probably putting the case together, chaptering, crystal, you know, related gaskets and whatnot, and what else? And then, yep, put that in, put the stem onto this crown, and lock that into the movement. Screw down the case back, and then the bezel. Well, let's see. So the bezel will come last. It may come in before everything is finalized. I might want to work on the case and the crystal at least. Then I will probably put the bezel on, lock that in, and then start putting the internals into the case and everything. And that should basically be it. It'll be ready to go really soon. I'm excited to see how this looks like once it's all done, as I'm sure you guys are. Anyways, I'm going to put this edit all these footage together and post it online soon. Thanks for sticking in there and watching this project. Can't wait to see it done. Laters. Just forgot to comment. Yeah, I think this looks better now. If you recall the panel line that I used before, inside there, it was okay, but some parts of it looks kind of thin. So now that I put like a more matte black and opaque fill into that 5, I think it looks better. It's actually easier to read too, because there isn't anything that's lighter than black kind of showing in the where it should be filled. So yeah, it looks something like that. Alright, anyways, thanks.